we'll move on to Azerbaijan versus Ireland and the Ireland squad. Sean, we'll go to you maybe first. It's probably a massive game for Stephen Kenny, more so than the Irish team itself. Like this culture war that's sort of developing. You know, I can only see it getting worse and worse the more results, and we can't quite get the wins. Obviously, the answer, like most of these culture wars, is somewhere in the middle, I take it.
Look, I think with Kenny, I don't think there's any game that's not a big game for him at the moment. I think every game he's been judged, he's been scrutinised, and that's just what comes with the territory when you've had the start that he's had, and when you have the job that he has. Look, he's made a couple of interesting decisions in the last few squads and camps, and what he's picked, and this, the type of player he's picked. Having looked with a few injuries, having looked at that squad, it does look very bare. It does look like not a lot to be working with. It's quite interesting. I saw an interview, I think, Irish Fan TV or Ireland Fan TV did with Matt Doherty. And Matt Doherty was speaking of, like, we're being coached by, Anthony Barry, Keith Andrews. Like, we're getting coach going there. We're really enjoying it. They want them to stay. But I don't think it's them Stephen Kenny has to win over. And I don't necessarily think it's the kind of the match going fans, if you like, haven't been at the game. I just think he just has to probably win over the general football fans, if you like, and that is still an important people to win over. He has to get results, and at the end of the day, the match going fans and their enthusiasm for that, and the players will only go so far, and they'll probably only go to the end of this campaign, because when we start our next qualification campaign, we can't be in any doubt whether Stephen Kenny is the man for the job, because he has to deliver for Euro 2024. It will be. So it's an interesting international break, but they all have been basically since we started the podcast, and since we started the Stephen Kenny era. Like, I can't think of one international break where I haven't been a little bit apprehensive of what we could see or what we might see. So look, on the squad front, yeah, I see we have a comment there about Anthony Scully. Like, I haven't seen a lot of him this year. I haven't seen a lot of Will Keane. All I know is he scored on the weekend. But calls like that, they kind of have to work, because if they don't, it just feels like another backward step. So it's an interesting couple of games, but in the grand scale of things, it's not important. But for Stephen Kenny, obviously, it is.
Mm-hmm. Actually, before I bring you in, I might just read out the squad. Bazunu, who plays for Portsmouth on loan from City, Kelleher for Liverpool, Travers, Bournemouth are the three goalkeepers, Doherty plays for Spurs, Cyrus Christie for Fulham, Duffy, Brighton, Egan, Sheffield United, Enda Stevens, Sheffield United, Ryan Manning, Swansea City, James McLean, Wigan Athletic now, Oma Bamidele, Norwich, Nathan Collins, Burnley. The midfielders then, we've got Josh Cullen playing regularly at Anderlecht, Jeff Hendrick at Newcastle, Heron at Aston Villa, Harry Arter, Forest, Jamie McGrath, St Mirren, Jason Knight, Derby County. And then the attackers, which kind of makes up the front three, I guess, is the Callum Robinson with West Brom, Aaron Connolly with Brighton, James Collins with Cardiff, Daryl Horgan with Wickham, Adam Ida with Norwich, Troy Parrott with MK Dons on loan from Spurs, Oga Benny from Rotherham, and then the big one that kind of caused the most stir, as the comment mentioned, is Will Keane for Wigan. So just read out his stats: 10 goals in 32 games last season in the league, in League One for Wigan, and he's got 4 goals in his first 9 games this season.
Yeah, Will Keane, that was like everyone, that made me sit back and go, oh, that's an odd one. I mean, to be honest, I didn't know if Will Keane was having a good season or not. Really, I hadn't even considered him. I know Mick McCarthy spoke about him before, when he was in charge, about him. They wanted to have him switch, and there was talk of him potentially being called up. I don't think he was ready at the time and things like that. And from there, I kind of put him completely out of my mind. Really, hadn't even considered that he would be someone to call up, but from what I've heard, I think Kenny is looking at him as like more of a 10, because that's the kind of role he plays. He plays off, I think it's Charlie Wyke, is the Wigan striker. He plays off him for Wigan, apparently, in that number 10 role. So maybe he sees him as a little bit of a link man, something kind of that McGoldrick ilk, because again, like Sean, I haven't seen much of him, haven't really considered him, but from what I've heard, he's good on the ball. His link up play is quite good. He's kind of that McGoldrick ilk, where he's kind of a little bit taller, but just has a nice touch, can link the play. Maybe that's where Kenny sees him, something along those lines. But I agree with that comment, and I think, again, not to say I've seen Scully play that all that often, but his stats aren't really. I mean, he's got 11 goals this season. He's playing in the same league as Will Keane. He's playing in the same league as Troy Parrott, Daryl Horgan, James McLean. It's an odd one for me that he's not in that squad, considering his form and considering the level that he's playing at is similar to a lot of other players in the squad. A couple of others. I mean, there was nothing really. There was no other real decisions. I was good to see Bene actually in there because I thought he was really exciting when he came on. Against I can't quite Qatar, I think it was. Or maybe it was Hungary, one of them games he came on and when he was in the squad the first time. And I thought he looked really, really lively. I know he hasn't been, I don't think he's been a regular starter with Rotherham this season, but I think he brings something, he brings pace, he brings a bit of energy. He looks like he can give something different. That's what he looked like off the bench anyway in that game. So I'm excited to see him in there. But there's a couple of strange ones. Harry Arter, I think he sees Harry Arter as maybe one of his only kind of holding midfield options, and he's kind of forced into picking him. I'm not sure on Arter really, to be honest. I think it's a bit past it for him. I know he's not really getting. He's in there at Charlton, but I think he's kind of in and out at Charlton too, and they're really struggling in League One. They're, I think, second bottom of the table, so that was an odd one for me. But again, I mean, you look at the younger players; they're the ones you kind of want to be seeing. Dele, excellent in the last break. I think he started one game in the Premier League, but still young, so not that bad. Nathan Collins looked good against Norwich apparently at the weekend for Burnley, his first Premier League start, so that's good. So Bazunu, obviously Kelleher, good battle for that number one shirt. But again, where Ireland are going to struggle, it's going to be up front, isn't it? Like, I mean, we all kind of know that's what it's going to be. Troy Parrott's been decent for MK Dons, all things considered. I know he's notched a couple of assists. I think he scored 3, maybe 4 goals, which is not too bad. Ida's not getting game time, which is probably a little bit worrying. And then the rest of your attacking options are kind of League One Championship players. So Aaron Connolly again, who's kind of in and out. So like that's where I'm not breaking any news by saying this, but that's where Ireland are probably going to struggle again. And is the hope maybe that Will Keane can provide something different, a different option off the bench later on against Azerbaijan, something along those lines maybe. Bene with that bit of pace to add in there. I don't know. I think it'll be a tough game. I think every kind of international break comes up and I get this bit of optimism, and not to say I'm not optimistic about the future as a whole, but just in the context of taking this game as a singularity, I think I kind of look at it and I think, oh, well, this could be the time when it kind of will actually change and we'll get that good result. But I still think it's going to be a tough game. I still don't really know where goals are going to come from. There's plenty of positives in the young players, in the defence, goalkeeper, but it's going to be so tricky and patience. I don't want to say patience were a thing because I think Serbia results helped it a lot. But as Sean said, like getting those, I don't know if casual fans is the correct term for it, but probably the non-match going fans who maybe just watch the highlights, maybe just have it on the background, maybe just see the result. Like it's very hard to convince those that there's actually something going on here when if you watch the whole 90 minutes, you see there's progression. It's very hard to convince someone when you draw with Azerbaijan or you lose to Luxembourg and things like that. So patience might continue to run out, but I think this will be a tough game. I think it's a big game, but I think it's a tough game. I think there's where Ireland will struggle is goals. And to go back to the original comment there for Paul, I think the Scully decision was one that confused me in the sense that Kenny has proven that he'll take risks. He's proven that he'll bring players in if they're in form, if they're young. It doesn't really matter. I mean, he put Dele on for what? That was his first game against Portugal, one of the best teams in the world. Threw him on like first half. He played a blinder, so he's not afraid to make those decisions. So that's why the Scully one was a little bit of a
strange one.
A surprise one. Yeah, strange one. But
Sean, maybe to bring you in just on. Well, Josh Cullen, really, the fact that he's played 10 games for Anderlecht this season out of 10 in the league, 4 games in I think it's Conference League or the Europa League, whatever qualifications they were playing. That's a huge positive. Good news Irish story. Should that be a little bit more drummed up, I guess, by people like ourselves?
Well, I've kind of written out an 11 here, and I'm not sure if he's going 5 at the back or 4 at the back. And now the one thing you would say is there does seem to be a lot more settledness now in our team, and one of the positives being Callum Robinson started the season, and obviously we all know the problems he's had with COVID and injuries. So hopefully he'll be all right come the 2 games. But if Connolly's fit, you've got if he plays 5 at the back, obviously Bazunu in goal. You could have Duffy, Omo Dembele, Johnny Egan as your kind of back 3, and your 2 wing backs, Darty Stevens in the midfield. I'm not sure if I want energy in there, so you might put Josh Cullen maybe with Jason Knight or Hendrick, and up front, like I think he has to play Robinson, Connolly, and Adam Ida. And it does seem like in that front 3, that probably our best front 3 on paper, probably the 3 there that are going to cause any team the most problems. I don't think there's anyone else, certainly in the squad there, that is better than them. I mean, Josh Cullen has been someone who was probably late starting in his international career and is kind of, molded into that role pretty nicely. Although I didn't think he had a great game against it was Serbia, I think. It's hard to remember all the teams we played. But it's an interesting one. Like, I saw Enda Stevens play Sheffield United against Middlesbrough in a midweek a few weeks ago, and he was appalling, really. Like, he struggled with injuries a lot. He got taken off in that game after, I think, 70 minutes.
He has played in Sheffield United's last 4 games to give some sort of positive spin.
Yeah, he was just really poor against Borough. And like, there's no one there in the left back position that's really jumping out that's going to take it. I mean, Ryan Manning's
James McLean aside, maybe.
Yeah, and McLean aside, he's kind of been. I see. It's hard to know what way he does go. I'd like to see 4 at the back. Duffy and Egan, with Doherty, and if you want to go McLean, Stevens, whoever. And then I'd like to see a lot of energy in midfield. So Jason Knight, Josh Cullen, maybe Hendrick again. Not having Alan Brown around. He's had a lot of issues since he's played an international and performed well. A couple of camps ago. So I would say is that Kenny's team starting to take shape a little bit. It's probably a little bit too late in terms of obviously this qualification campaign, but just having it written out on paper, it does feel like he's got 8 or 9 guaranteed starters, and it's probably only a couple of positions where he's going to change. But I really want to see that front 3 of Robinson, Connolly, and Ida, because I think that's as exciting as it gets from an Ireland point of view.
I think it's kind of strong as well. Like, just from listening to it read out on paper, Sean, like, you're kind of going through and you're going like, it's for what it is. It's strong enough. Do you know what I mean? It's an exciting enough when everyone is fit. When, like, what you have at your disposal, when you're getting the most out of what you have at your disposal, it's not the worst team on paper, really. And I think Jason Knight coming back actually is a positive too. One that I probably should have mentioned earlier, but I know he's kind of still assimilating back into the starting 11 after Rooney clattered him in training. But he was great. He's been great whenever he's played under Kenny. And as you said, Sean, he adds that bit of energy to the Irish midfield. I think he'd be a huge positive coming back. But yeah, no, just to kind of point out, I just think when you read it out, I kind of went, oh, actually, on paper, if it's the strongest team, provided obviously everyone stays fit between now and the game, then it should be enough to beat Azerbaijan.
We've been here before, lads, haven't we?
Yeah. The one thing I would say, Dan, is I just hope Kenny doesn't make. There's been a couple of times in his reign that you just think, oh, he's made a mistake there, or he hasn't quite got it right. And I think that midfield's a big issue for me. I think if we do play that front 3 up front and we play 2 in midfield, I'd like to see Jason Knight in there, maybe in place of Hendrick. I know Hendrick scored at the weekend, but I just think we need more energy in there. We need to be, really aggressive, getting out and trying to get on the counter attack. And that's the thing. I think, we need to score goals, and that 3 is, like I said earlier, it's just gets from us. It's as exciting as it gets. But I just hope Kenny doesn't make that. I think he's made a couple of times where he just hasn't quite picked the right player.
Yeah, Oisín, final thoughts. I guess the back 4, the back 5, it's probably conundrum. Like, your back 5 sets up well against a Portugal and a Serbia, but for me, we're not good enough to play with a back five against an Azerbaijan or a Luxembourg, where a back four gives us that one extra player in midfield, and suddenly we might have that 60 or 70% possession. That could potentially mean a 1-0 victory as opposed to 1-1 against Azerbaijan or a 1-0 defeat to Luxembourg.
Yeah, I like the extra player midfield, definitely. I think 5 should be reserved for those. I don't want to call them bigger games because they're all big games now, but for the bigger teams, I suppose, the ones where you kind of have to set up a little bit like that, I think should be reserved for that, and then you should go with the 4, and I get your extra man in midfield for the likes of the teams I don't want to say you should be beaten because that's giving us too much credit, but those kind of 3rd, 4th, 5th seed type teams, I think that's where you kind of have to go with the 4 in the midfield. But it will be interesting to see how he does set up, and I think kind of Sean touched on a little bit where he's made a couple of selection errors or formation errors per se. I know actually Keith Andrews spoke about it on Off the Ball last week, and I think he was asked about kind of the lack of continuity per se in the fact that Kenny's made so many changes in every kind of game, it seems like, and a lot of them now, in fairness, I thought a lot of them have been enforced with COVID. He's been really, he's been very unlucky with injuries and things like that too, but I think there probably does, and I think we probably spoke about this last time too, in the sense that there does need to be some kind of continuity in, especially in the midfield, because the chopping and changing that's done there seems to be like every single game there's a new kind of 2, a new 1, 3, whatever. So I think it's crucial that kind of, if you can get the stability that kind of seems to be there at the back. I know Darryl Shea's out now, but that's an injury issue. If we can get the stability that seems to have kind of developed at the back, if we can move that into the midfield now and kind of get some kind of continuity whereby Kenny knows that, okay, maybe only one of these positions is.
Remove him there from the stream for a second. Yeah, so Sean, final thoughts, prediction on, I was just going to ask you guys for predictions, really. Predictions on the game Saturday.
Well, yeah, look, I can't remember the prediction for the games we've done before, but I do feel pretty confident in this one. Like I said, that starting 11 that I called out, what I think is going to be the 4 at the back with Bazunu, Duffy, Egan, Darty, McLean or Stevens. I think the midfield should be Cullen, Hendrick and Nye, and then Connolly, Robinson and Nye. That there does seem to be a little bit more quality in there, and I just hope they can get it done. I do think we'll win, and God, it'll be a much needed win.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not sure we'll get Oshin back before the end, but my thanks to you, Sean, for coming on the podcast.
Cheers, Dan.
Yeah, at Tackling Sport, you can get us on social media. Over the next few weeks, we're going to be doing just Monday night live episodes. Over the next few weeks, I think we might have Oshin back there to say goodbye, but if not, we just see you there, Oshin. Sorry, yeah, we were just saying,
lads. Apologies.
We were saying our goodbyes, but your final maybe prediction for the game.
Yeah, I think, again, I'm going to go with the optimism because I always kind of seem to fall into that really before every international break. So I do think, it's coming. It is coming. I think the Serbia game kind of proved that it is. And, I think if, again, a lot of it does depend on fitness and making sure that, if it does turn out that, the likes of Connolly, Ida, Robinson, you got Knight back, Cullen in a bit of form, if it all kind of clicks, I think they should beat them 2-0 maybe. I want to say 2-0, 2-1. But I think realistically, 2-1. I think it has to be a win. A draw. It's not like
it's
you can't. It just can't. Yeah, do you know what I mean? It just can't be another draw. It's just it has to be a win at this stage. And I think it's a game that is tough enough that a win is probably you're looking at go, okay, that's a good result. Whereas a draw, it's not a Serbia, it's not a Portugal. The draw at home, the Portugal result helped kind of ease the pain, I suppose, or kind of gave a little bit of credit for the draw. It kind of excused the Azerbaijan draw a little bit. Whereas now, I think the Serbia result was good, but it has to be a win and it has to come soon. But for me, I think it'll be this time. I think it'll be 2-1. I think that'll set Ireland up nicely then for the last. I know there's Qatar coming up and Portugal as well, so. I think they'll get it. I don't think it'll be convincing, and I don't think it'll be probably overly pretty, all things considered. But I think it'll be 2-1.
Yeah, I always get nervous when we're talking about what happens if we lose or draw. It bears not to think about, to be honest with you. But yeah, Oshin, thanks a million for coming on the podcast.
No problem, lads. Thanks, man.
And yeah, at Tackling Sport, you can get us on social media. We'll be back on Monday next Monday then to review the Ireland game and hopefully preview the Qatar friendly that Paul McGrath is promoting on Tuesday night. So hopefully you get a good crowd there. I'm sure Paul McGrath will be delighted if Stephen Kenny can get his first competitive win, I'm sure. So that's all from us. My thanks to Sean.
Cheers, Dan.
Cheers. Have a great week. Have a great week. Enjoy the international break. I'm sure everyone's buzzing about it, but we'll be back on Monday. Enjoy it.